Hi everyone, my name is Presley Lamas, and today I'm going to be talking about wildfire management and more specifically the challenges within California and Canada. So wildfires have always been a big part of natural ecosystems, but in the past few years, the scale and severity have changed dramatically. Both California and Canada have experienced record breaking wildfire seasons that have threatened communities, natural resources, and entire landscapes. Today, I'm going to walk through the major challenges in managing wildfires, what professionals are already doing, and a few creative, maybe out of the box solutions that could help us adapt to this new reality. By the end, you should have a clear understanding of why wildlife management has become one of the most urgent natural resources in North America today. So, getting started, I'm going to talk about why this topic matters. Wildfires affect a lot more than we think. They don't just burn trees, they affect the air we breathe, the water we drink, the land we depend on, and the health of the ecosystems that support our biodiversity. In the last 2 years, both California and Canada have seen an increase in megafires, so fires that are burning over 100,000 acres. Not only are these fires larger, but they're also burning much hotter and moving much faster than in past decades. This matters because wildfire seasons are starting earlier, they're lasting longer, and they're becoming way more expensive. They're becoming more expensive by affecting the economics, stretching from firefighting cost to losses in agriculture, forestry, tourism, and even public health. And beyond the economics, communities are facing repeated evacuations, smoke exposure, emotional stress, and losing their homes and their lives. So, this issue is not just environmental, it's social, economic, and also public health related as well. In the last 1 to 2 years, I feel like we've seen quite a bit on the news with these wildfires that have been happening. In 2023 and 2024, Canada had its worst wildfire seasons in recorded history. More than 45 million acres were burned, which is an area larger than the entire state of Pennsylvania. Smoke traveled across major U.S. cities like Chicago, New York, and Detroit, leading to some of the worst air quality readings ever recorded. California has also continued to experience large fires. What used to be just a fire season is now almost a year round concern. Instead of just worrying from July to October, fire agencies now respond to major fires in winter and spring. These recent events highlight a pattern. These fires are not just random anomalies, they are part of a larger trend caused by environmental, climatic, and even our own human factors. There's quite a few key challenges that we've noticed. First is going to be climate change. It's creating hotter and drier conditions. Vegetation dries out earlier and stays dry longer, making our land more flammable. Second is decades of fire suppression. Policies where every fire was extinguished led to an excessive buildup of brush, dead trees, and thick undergrowth. These create explosive fuel conditions, which are just going to make fires come out even worse. Third, human development is spreading into what's called the wildland urban interface, or the WUI. This means more homes, power lines, and communities are sitting right next to flammable landscapes. Fourth, many fire agencies are stretched thin. It's not just about firefighters, it's about aircraft, ground crews, dispatchers, and public safety personnel. When so many fires happen at once, it spreads our resources extremely thin during these times. Fifth, after the fire is out, the problems do not stop. There's burned soil that becomes unstable, leading to mudslides, flooding, water contamination, and these issues can last many years after a major fire. So, our professionals have already suggested and are already using several solutions to help with these wildfires. So there has been prescribed burning and indigenous cultural burning to help reduce fuel in a controlled way. Indigenous communities have used cultural burning for thousands of years and is increasingly being recognized as a highly effective tool against these forest fires. Forest thinning as well. It removes excess vegetation and it creates a healthier forest structure combined with fuel breaks. These can slow down or even redirect wildfire movement. Then early detection technology. Our technology has done a lot for us, especially when it comes to natural disasters. Things like satellites and artificial intelligence allow fire agencies to identify hotspots before they even become a major fire. There's also home hardening policies involve using fire resistant materials and creating defensible spaces around homes so that communities are more resilient against wildfires. And finally, integration between state, federal, and tribal agencies improves emergency response times and ensures resources go where they are the most needed during these times. Um, so a few things we're already using a lot of things, but there's also some few solutions that we could add on, kind of as another layer of protection to these ways we already do have. So first would be developing fire resistant crop buffer zones. So these would be planted around communities or critical infrastructure using hardy moisture retaining plants that slow fire spread. For example, things like agave, ice plants, or certain native succulents could serve as these fire breaks. Second, since we already do use AI so much for a lot of these natural resources, another thing we could do is probably AI powered dynamic evacuation systems. Fire movement changes very quickly due to the wind and terrain, so a real time evacuation map that updates every 30 seconds could save so many lives by giving people the most efficient and even safest route out of these fires. Third would be using coordinated fleets of drones to reseed burned landscapes with fire resistant native plants. This speeds up ecosystem recovery and can reduce fuel leads for future fires. Drones can cover steep terrain that's hard for us humans to reach, so using something like a drone would help a lot with recovering our ecosystem. So these ideas could complement these existing strategies and add more modern innovation to what we already have for our natural resource management. So one of the case studies is going to be Canada. More specifically, Canada's 2023 to 2024 season. The sheer size of fires overwhelmed their federal resources. Entire towns faced evacuation multiple times. Indigenous communities in northern Canada were especially impacted because many are located in remote forested regions and rely on land based resources for their food and cultural practices. One major issue was the shortage of firefighting personnel. Canada had to rely heavily on international firefighters from the US, Europe, Australia, and South Africa. This demonstrates how wildfire crises are now global issues that require international cooperation. I know y'all heard me say earlier that whenever Canada was having one of its biggest wildfires, that was not just affecting Canada. that was going into America as well, affecting many of our states and our air quality as well, showing it is such a big thing that is not just affecting where it's at, it's affecting everybody. California as well. So many of these mega fires are fueled by a combination of drought, heat, and many decades of fuel buildup. Some of these states' most destructive fires, including the Camp Fire and Dixie Fire, these were caused by power line failures during dry and windy conditions. These fires have major natural resource impacts. Burned forests can't retain water. So, this leads to things like runoff that threatens our reservoirs, our watersheds. This affects millions of people who depend on California's water system. California has been investing in fuel reduction projects, utility upgrades, and community preparedness, but this risk remains very high due to the state's geography and its climate as well. So, some long term resource management implications. So, wildfires reshape the landscape after the flames are gone. So ash and sediments, it pollutes rivers, lakes, so affecting our water quality. It's burning vegetation, increasing erosion, which can destroy many of the habitats for the local fish and wildlife. The economic cost is also enormous. It is far more expensive to fight fires once they're burning compared to preventing them through forest management, prescribed burning, and even community planning. So, these long term impacts show why wildfire management is not just about putting out our fires, it's about natural resource management, water management, land use planning, and climate adaptation. This just showing that if we can prevent it now, it can stop so many of the problems that these wildfires have caused to these communities. So, just to kind of wrap things up, Um, wildfires are intense. They're becoming more intense. They're becoming more frequent. So managing them requires a lot more of traditional knowledge, like cutting edge technology and even new creative ideas. Combining all of these things are going to build a lot of the solutions we do have for these wildfires. From indigenous land stewardship to AI systems and drone restoration, this shows that innovation and collaboration will be essential for adapting to future fire seasons. Another big thing is going to be protecting our communities, our ecosystems, and the resources we depend on. These will require long term planning and sustained investment. But the wildlife management is an urgent environmental challenge, but with the right strategies, we can build resilience for the future. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you all learned a lot about wildlife and what a big concern wildlife has caused and how much these wildfires are truly affecting all of us. Thank you.